On the Level podcast, your Masonic podcast. Join the hosts Billy McIntyre and Sam Earl Sedgey as they delve into the world of Freemasonry.
Brethren, brothers, sisters, fans and listeners around the world, welcome to yet another episode of On the Level podcast. I'm with my worshipful brother, the one and only Billy McIntyre. How are you, Billy?
Sam, your introductions are always wonderful. I am doing wonderful.
I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to start doing speeches, like Churchill.
Yeah. Yes, and I'll be up applauding.
Mate, I'm glowing. Hey, we'll have an interview that's coming. Billy and Patrick. It's just so cool listening to them, and they really got me excited. And then I kind of extrapolated on a few of their points that they were generating for the interview. But we have the Right Worshipful Grand Junior Warden. Patrick Grubbin, is that correct? Have I got his name?
Grubbs, Patrick Grubbs.
Patrick Grubbs, apologies, Patrick Grubbs, which is kind of an English name actually, Grubbs. So you might have some. I'm going to talk to him because he's a bit of a history buff. He graced us and honored us with an interview, and it wasn't really an interview; it was a conversation, and it just shows how lucky we are. I think we're in the start of a golden age. And I really feel from David Lynch to now our incumbent Grandmaster, which is most worshipful brother, Grandmaster Joe Farrell of the state of Illinois of H&M Free and Accepted Masons. There's such a good set of leaders we've got in Illinois, and just listening to them and the fun that they're having at that level and the traveling that they're doing is so infectious, Billy. It's been. I'm glowing from that interview. I can't wait till we get into it. But what's been going on in your world, man?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's been busy. You would think coming up on Christmas like we are that it would slow down. It has not slowed down yet. I have Scottish Rite. At the time we're interviewing this, I have Scottish Rite tomorrow night, and I'm the head of one of the Scottish Rite lines this year, and so they kind of call me and keep me hopping with that. And you know what? There's always something. Doing a little degree work here and there in the Blue Lodges, and of course we got the podcast. We're doing some interviews, and we've been lucky enough to have some access to some of the Grand Officers, and we got a few more interviews coming up with some Grand Officers. And guys, this podcast is going really well. I'm really proud of where it's going.
It's insane.
And Sam is on the ball with it, and we are breaking some new ground.
I think we've just broken over 1,000 subscribers, and so by the time this podcast gets released, we're somewhere in the thousands. There's one before this.
54,000 views.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's great.
And so we have a legion. I've always wanted a legion, like the Roman legions, and now we have a legion of listeners and subscribers. Oh, you know what? I just want to thank all of you subscribers who have dedicated the time, the energy, and are enjoying the content. Thank you so much for being part of our journey. Of us exploring and discussing and extrapolating Freemasonry, H&M Free Accepted Freemasonry, and it's been such a joy, Billy, doing this with you. So much fun. I've really enjoyed the interviews. I've learned so much as well. I have also had a lot of confirmations, which has been very important, which has kind of like made me glow more. And it's been a joy, and I've also enjoyed the historical aspects that we're doing, and we've got a few more historical things which Billy is trying really hard to bring together and extrapolate more Masonic history from different periods, and so I'm very excited about that as well. And so it's been an absolute joy, and having a legion. I mean, I expected, if I'm going to be honest, I expected at this time with us been doing this for like 6 months. I thought we'll get 200, 300 subscribers,
Yeah.
and that's on the top end. That's on the top end,
Yeah.
and maybe 100 to 200 views per episode. But having
Yeah.
like some episodes having 15,000 views, 3,000 views, 2,000 views, even like 600 views is to me amazing. And so I'm kind of blown away. These to me, from personally, are like really big numbers, and something I expected we'll attain in a couple of years after like loads of episodes.
So we really want to thank you. You
Oh.
know, it's because of you guys. We really appreciate you.
Billy, what's your drive, man? You're so passionate. You're so passionate, my worshipful
Well,
brother, and
you
you
know,
and you love
it's-
masonry. You really like
do.
eat this up. Let listeners know what drives Billy, because this man last year.
I'll tell you what drives
Go
me.
on.
When you guys hear this interview, you're going to see me fumble the whole first 10 minutes of it. Okay. My drive is to do a whole interview without fumbling. Okay. When I do that, then I'm going to calm down. But it's like I have peanut butter on my roof of my mouth or something. I can't get it off. But I finally do, then it goes okay. So I don't know what happens. Sometimes it comes in the beginning, sometimes it comes in the middle, sometimes it comes in the end. Today, I couldn't even say the man's title right. And I practiced before I even got on there. I don't know what happened. It just went bad. But you know what? You got to forgive me, because I'm just a Mason. That's all I am.
It's an well, you know what you're trying to love. You're trying to love. It's the fact that
It's all fun, buddy.
there's no
You know
script.
what?
There's no script.
We just
There's
we
no
just have fun.
we just have
You know
fun.
what? And it's okay. It's okay. You know, someday, it won't be any better than it is today. But we're gonna have a good time doing it. And we just thank you guys for sticking around through all of our defects and just listen to me and Sam have fun.
No, dude, it's been an absolute blast, and you're really humble. You're really humble, Billy. You work really hard behind the scenes. Last year, you did an incredible amount of traveling. That was insane, and just seeing your enthusiasm to meet and greet, meet on the level, part on the square, meet, act, and greet. Many Masons, hundreds of Masons around the state of Illinois, and interact with them was just phenomenal. And seeing many men walk away with smiles, and now you're reaching out to a global audience around the world, and it's an absolute pleasure doing this. Billy's the visionary behind the podcasts, I'm on for the epic journey. So
Well, I couldn't do anything without Sam, because Sam is the technical guy, and Sam is always there to help me out with this. Sam's always there to do his best to make me look good. And we're a team. There's no way one of us would be doing it without the others, and we wouldn't, neither one of us be doing it without the listeners. So guys, you stick with us, and the world's our goal. We're going to try to go to England to get some interviews from some brothers there. We're going to try to go all over.
Do you know what's really interesting? Do you know what's really interesting, Billy? Is I'm very lucky to have met you, my brother. We're very much alike. Just your enthusiasm, which is my same enthusiasm, same excitement that you have for Freemasonry and the fraternity, and the orders and the history, and the potential good Freemasonry can do for mankind and for the United States and elsewhere. And then being able to hitch up with a brother who's crazy as you are, which is me, and being able to use our abilities to just have fun and spread light. It's been an absolute privilege. And if you told me like a year ago I'll be doing this, and if you told me we'll have like a legion, 1,000 subscribers plus, which is, it's just, I still can't believe I'm pinching myself and I'm glowing. I'll be like, you're insane. And to the fact that I was able to, and also enable, because I go and I give lectures every year on the Knights Templars.
Right.
And to be able to now talk about that on a bigger platform and give actual factual facts, and there's a lot of misinformation, and we've done some myth-busting episodes which have been really popular, and to give a real understanding on the pure facts and historical case, as opposed to this mythos that's been built over these really enormous channels, and a lot of them I guess, are there for the clickbaits and for the attention. It's been a great privilege, and I think we're on a journey and on a discovery of our listeners and with our brethren in Illinois and elsewhere of discovering more about Freemasonry together and seeing all the joys of the fraternity. And I just want to say thank you, and I can't wait to continue this fantastic journey. And listening to our Right Worshipful Grand Junior Warden Patrick Grubbs of the state of Illinois.
I can tell you, if you guys can't see and feel the fun in that man's heart, you're listening to a different podcast than we are, because that man just feels joy, and that's a wonderful thing.
And
that's where the masonry is, right there in his heart. He's just full of joy.
It just makes me want to start traveling and going to all these other lodges.
Yeah.
He's just so infectious. And so my point being is, for our brethren in lodges, and it's something we actually touched on very early on, and we go through it in an interview, is the ability to have fun. And so to have fun is to not only know thyself, but know thy other, and that other being your brother. And so your lodge, I hope, and many lodges are a place where you get together. Obviously, you do the business, the stated meetings, and you do the degree work, but you have fun. You build that rapport, that relationship that solidifies those bonds to do the work, to do turn up, to do get more involved. And I talk a lot about my lodge, which I worship for Master Frank and Nicole 1170 and St. Paul's Lodge 500 in Springfield. It's that infectious fun, that joy, that excitement that everyone gets together for the meeting, and they're enjoying each other's company. You know, the passion and the dedication of coming to practices, to be more proficient in ritual, to build a lodge and recruit good members and take membership seriously. And it's not about quantity, it's about quality, but quality in good numbers. I always say, if you just get 2 or 3 good men a year in your lodge, you could think long term, 5 years, that's 15 new people on top of the brothers you already have. You know,
and you could make even the brothers you have that you don't think, maybe they're, I hate to say it, but we all have members that are kind of low energy members that really don't do much. You can get something out of those members. You keep working with those members, encourage them, talk to them, and say, hey, could you just do this? Give them a little bit of a job, a small job, and you'd be surprised how they'll, if they're showing up, they're willing to do something for you. Give them something easy to do, and if they complete that, give them something a little more to do, and you'll be surprised. You might end up with a member that does stuff for you. They might not be the best member you have, but they'll be a member that does things for you.
Find out everyone's strengths. The strengths could be, sometimes it could not, sometimes it's just the fellowship of a brother, but the other half, the wife, makes great T-shirts, and we need some T-shirts for the lodge to represent the lodge, or do some charity stuff or whatever. But you don't know that if you don't get to spend the time, if you don't build those relationships, build those networks within the lodge, keep that rapport up, and have a lot of fun. So fun, what we talk about in the interview, is we're a fraternity. It's a brotherhood. It's a place where you can escape from the dregs of the real world, and you meet men on the level. So what's really interesting, if you see that conversation we had, that was very emblematical of the Grand Line, is although they are grand representatives of our fraternity, and they have, it's a great privilege and honor for them to have that prestigious rank, the most important level or rank that you can ever have in Freemason, no matter what you are, is a Master Mason. And to be able to meet a fellow Master Mason as a Master Mason, regardless of your rank, title, and level, or the accolades you've done in the past 10 to 15 years, that doesn't matter. What matters is you as a Master Mason and your brother as a Master Mason, and be able to meet that person. There are people that I would have never met in my life and who have come to become very good and close friends just because of the professions we're in. And you get
Right.
to experience things that, which is really cool, which are really cool. Like I would have never have got to know, I know a lot of welders now, but I've never would have met welders to be friends because they don't
Right.
hang around in the same circles that I do. I'm from the gaming and music industry. I'm from the film industry, so that's and the manufacturing industry. So that's where those are my circles in terms of merchandise manufacturing and then music and then the gaming industry. I'm heavily involved in those subsets, but it's and then meeting other people. Your profession. I've never met someone that's such an interesting job, and other people, and to be able to meet our brothers and meet people on the level, and not having to worry about rank and title and prestige, and having that open and honest conversation. That's huge. That's huge.
Well, and I should mention too, later on you're going to find out, and I made a joke that I didn't mean to be an inside joke. He was talking about how good these people are at their things. Well, Patrick is a retired prison guard. And so later on, when he was talking about how people can do math in their head, and so if it needs something, they can do these figures, and so can build. And I made the joke, and if someone has an escaped prisoner, that he could catch them. So now you'll know the joke when it comes up. But no one would have known if I hadn't cleared it up. But so now you're inside. Now you got the inside joke.
Right, and yeah, it's just it's just an immense pleasure to meet people with so many different interesting backgrounds and be able to have that conversation and to share each other's stories and build something together that lasts beyond you. And what's really interesting and what's fascinating, and especially with you, Billy, is you come from your father was a Mason.
No, I actually raised my father.
Oh, you raised
He
your
was,
father. Well, he was.
he
So he was a
because
Mason,
of
but
me.
you raised him. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so your father was a Mason, but you raised him. Your brother's a Mason. Your nephew's a Mason.
I raised him too. So yeah, I kind of brought people into the
Oh, so
fraternity.
Clan McIntyre
I
joined because of
I
you.
started. I'm a history guy. I'm kind of a history guy, and I started looking at history, and I started noticing that. Well, basically, because I was looking at the Constitution and noticed how many Masons was brave enough to sign it. You know, because basically they signed their own death warrant. And I thought how many brave men signed that, and how strong Britain was at that time, and for them to be able to say, "Yeah, I'm going to, sign my own death warrant by signing this," that took a lot of intestinal fortitude to sign that piece of paper to declare independence against the strongest force in the world right then.
The biggest superpower at that
Yeah,
time was
and I
the
thought, my goodness, Britain.
British Empire.
Yeah,
Absolutely, and the way. What's really interesting, and some may argue if it's coincidence or not, is the structure of the Republic of the United States of America, the three branches of power, the election process, a lot of it, and I think we'll get at some point in episodes of the founders and how Freemasonry influenced certain parts of the establishment and the rise of the United States of America. What's really interesting is how certain parts of the British government didn't want to continue this war, and how independence happened, and the rest is history, as we know. I think we're going to talk a bit about that in the future, about the founding fathers of the United States and their Masonic past and how that could have influenced a lot of the stuff that we are with today. And I just find that very interesting, to be honest, because remember in the French Revolution as well, there was a lot of Masonic involvement. The guy who created
right.
the guillotine was a Freemason. A lot of the top brass were a Freemason. Napoleon's brother, who took over of the French Revolution, he was a Grand Master.
Well,
There are
Napoleon was a Mason too,
and
right?
Napoleon was a Mason too. What's really interesting is how he was treated once he lost. He lost several times, and how he was
Yeah, this.
how he was afforded privileges. And I'll get into that, and we'll look into that as how that possibly because of his him being a brother, and a lot of times, even though you have conflicts and wars, there's a certain way you would treat a brother.
Mhm.
So there's some interesting things, and we're part of this very special fraternity that has been with us through the ages, and I've traced it back to at least 3,025 years. To the first temple of King Solomon, and we've got years to go through series about that and explore those. And we're just talking about the Knights Templars now, and we're really, really getting into nitty gritty and establishing a lot of areas and really immersing ourselves into that world and trying to get you guys to really see what life was like and how everything was actually set up. And there's some really interesting, profound discoveries to share with you from a historical, factual basis that hasn't really been tapped
Yes.
in.
So I hope you're not. You've only been listening to us for about 7 months, so I hope you're not getting bored yet because we've got about. What do you think? About 50 more years before we get caught up.
I hope we can finish this, but there's a lot there's a lot to talk. And what's really cool is being able to do these interviews with people all over the world and in the great state of Illinois as well
Yeah.
about Freemasonry. And there's so much history. There are so many good stories, but yeah, I just wanted to talk because you know what, having these interviews and talking to our Right Worshipful Grand Junior Warden was just huge. And every time I get off these interviews, I get a buzz, and it just buzzes me. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get back into lodge. I'm ready to charge. Bring the cavalry, and all that kind of stuff. And so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, anything else, Billy, on your mind before we go into the
You
interview?
know what? I have nothing, Sam. I think we've covered it, and like I said, this great interview coming up.
Welcome back to another episode of On the Level podcast. We are right back in this segment, and Billy, if you could start the fantastic introductions. I'm very excited, and it's a very huge honor and privilege to have our fellow worshipful brother, grand worshipful brother, Billy. Go for it, my brother.
Yes, we have us with us tonight, the Right Worshipful Grand Junior, the Right Worshipful Junior Grand Warden, Patrick Grubbs. We just went over this before we started that I was going to get that name right, and then I fumbled on right there on the 10-yard line. So, Right Worshipful brother, we are so glad to have you with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, we're our goal is to have as many of the grand officers here in Illinois with us as we can, so we can get your message out and to get the people the brothers here in Illinois more acquainted with you, so we can get more stuff done here in Illinois. Maybe get some more members in.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. We'd like to kind of start out with a few questions so they get to know you. So, when did you start being when did you start masonry in Illinois? Your journey.
I petitioned back in 1999, and in 2000 I was raised at Fellowship Lodge number 89, of course located in beautiful downtown Marion, and been going through the chairs. And I actually got installed as worshipful master last Sunday by Right Worshipful Ed Robinson, and that's my third time in the East. So
he helped me out with one of those at one of my lodge. He's noted for smashing your hat on very good when he, puts you in the Oriental chair.
yes, and that's why I didn't wear the correct hat. I wore one of the old ones. I knew he was going to crush my hat, and I didn't want my hat crushed. So
that man,
in the pictures, it looks like I have a small hat on, and I do, and that's a reason for it, because he's known to smash that hat.
If you would look up what the perfect Master Mason was, Ed would have to have a picture there. That man.
Oh, he's just wonderful.
He is excellent. That man has everything I know memorized in Blue Lodge.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean, just the most kind man in the world. Great sense of humor.
He'll travel all over for any brother. He is just fantastic.
Man, he is. the only thing I'll say is that man, he's a big man, and he was raising me on the other degree, and he put his hand out there, and he's got a hand that, I'm not a small man, and he put his hand out there. He said, "Take me as I take you," and I said, "Oh my gosh!" He had a catcher's mitt out there. I
Oh
couldn't
yeah,
get my hand
he's
around
got a
it.
bear claw. Yeah, he's just got huge hands.
Yeah, yeah. He started laughing when I was looking at it because I was eyeballing it, and I'm sure I'm not the first one.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my mentors. He is
Yeah.
just fantastic. Anytime I got a question, I'll always try to get a hold of Ed, and he'll usually give me a right answer about 99% of the time. He's just amazing.
Well, he's been a grand lecturer forever, and wasn't he on the board of grand examiners?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know when he got commissioned. I don't know his dates, but yeah, he has been around for a while and still teaching and holds river to river class over at Wren Lake up there in
Mm-hmm.
Cesar, and he's just always around. He's just amazing.
I just wanted to give him a shout out because he's a wonderful man.
Oh yeah.
So, but anyway, on with that. So you got in the Grand Line, and you've been traveling around, and I make a joke that I like to drive my pickup because I'm from the southern area here, and I know you do too.
Oh
And
yeah.
why don't you tell the people listening how enjoyable it is to park a pickup truck in Chicago?
Oh yes, it is quite an adventure to park a big Dodge Ram 1500, and there's this, yeah, it just don't fit. Down here in the southern area, it's fantastic. Up there, it gets a little tight, and some of the garages, I'm looking out the window thinking, "Wow, I got an inch left."
Oh
Might
my
have to let some air
gosh.
out of the tires, and
I
it's a
swear.
fun time in Chicago with
I
that
guess
pickup.
nobody in the city likes to drive trucks, or they don't want you to park because there's like those parking spots were not made for bigger vehicles.
Oh
They
yeah,
just, they want to get as many in there as possible. And man,
yeah.
but yeah.
And some of the bridges down here, the Cape Bridge and the
Hmm.
Chester Bridge, the width is just not made for these new
No,
big trucks. So.
no, you're right. Well, the new Cape Bridge isn't so bad, but that old
Right,
one was
yeah, the
pretty
new one's
rough.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that old one, ooh, that was rough.
So, how many miles you putting on there a year?
Oh, I don't even know. We're going, obviously, I'm a state officer, so I go
Yeah.
from Cairo to Chicago and, town halls and grand lecture schools and lodge officer schools, the rededications, cornerstone. We're always moving, it seems
Hmm.
like. Um, I would say 1,500 miles a month, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna guess because I know
Wow,
you guys really
1,500.
travel a lot.
Or
Yeah.
it just seems like, and we have a good mix of officers. I'm from the South, Jim's and, over there in Quincy, Frank's in Jacksonville. We represent the state very well, I think. Chris, the senior Grand Deacon from Waseca, and a couple of them from, Joliet, Chicago. So we really represent the state very well. I think this line does.
Yes. And I talked to the Grand Master. We did uh about a month ago now. You have such a wonderful grand line now, and I know they've all been good here lately, but man, such a good dynamic. You guys all get along, and man, it just seems like it's
we
such
we
a good
do
group.
we do get along. It's like we've been friends for 20 years, and we just laugh and joke. And what's even better, our ladies travel with us. Sometimes we forget about them, and our ladies all get together and they shop and they laugh, and they've been friends forever. We just are melding really well. The Grand Master is just a down to earth guy. He's funny. Uh, and you have to laugh at his dad jokes because he's Grand Master.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah, you have
so,
to.
and he's a numbers guy, and he can do math and percentages in his head just like Chip and Chris can.
Yeah.
And Jim and Angelo are hands-on if we need something built or we got to have this, and these guys are doing the engineering in their head and on paper. They're hands-on. We just have a great group. Frank and Tony, good gravy. They know everybody from Cairo to Chicago, and they just have that experience.
Right. And if there's any escape
just
convicts,
have a good line right now.
you're on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's escape convicts, you're the guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if we ever have any of that experience, I'm the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
But we yeah, I'm not allowed to tell stories. But it is a fun group, and we get along so well.
Yeah, that's cool. Though.
And to be honest, we talk, text, or email each other every day. It's just we have a good communication. We've got a good friendship. It's just fantastic. We're very blessed to have this line right now. I think it's a great line.
And hopefully it continues on, because that makes everything, don't you, brothers can see that. And if brothers see that having fun, it's contagious. If you guys can't get along, then nobody gets along.
Yes. And we're very, very approachable. Sometimes they say, well, we can't, I'm nervous to come up and talk to us. We're brothers. You were worried about the title.
Mm-hmm.
I go by Patrick. The title's fantastic, but if a brother wants to come up and has a question, he doesn't have to worry about getting the title correct. Just, hey, Pat, what can we do this, or what about this idea? So we're very, very approachable.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
So most people, and I know you've got a ways to go to get at the top, and your 2-year plan, a 2-year line, I get that. But you have to have an idea. As you see these guys going through, what do you see right now, even if it changes, would be your major goal if you're Grandmaster? If you were Grandmaster tomorrow, what would be your goal for the year? What would you be looking for?
Well, I think our goal right now is obviously grow the fraternity. Wayne is doing golly, he's fantastic in marketing. I don't know. Do you know Wayne, Brother Wayne? I don't.
Wayne.
He's. Oh, come on now.
Right, Worshipful Brother Wayne Spooner. Yeah, yes.
Yes,
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, oh, yeah, he's fantastic. He does the marketing. He gives us numbers and figures and advertising, and he's fantastic. So growing the fraternity is very, very important. And then if we look internally, right now we have a shortage of commissioned officers. Mm-hmm. We got to get some, certified lodge instructors and some grand lecturers going. And I can't remember the year. I do believe it was early 70s, I do believe, or maybe even late 60s. Somebody said we had 1,800 grand lecturers in the state.
Wow.
And Right Worshipful Jason Samples was telling me about that. And I can't remember the year, but I can't imagine having that many grand lecturers. And you look, we just have a handful here in the South, so we really need more commissioned officers. If there was some way we can boost that energy, I guess, to get people to study and test, and there's a lot of guys out there that can do it. We just got to get them to test, and we call them sandbaggers, and they do. They're fantastic guys. They know the work. But we need to get them to test, or polish it up a little bit. So I think that would be a goal. One, we got to up our membership, and then internally up our commissioned officers.
So sometimes,
members too,
yeah. So sometimes it's identifying those brethren. There was one brethren who's been a worshipful master, I think, 3 times in Frank and Nicole Lodge. And great instructor. He would come in his own time. He was worshipful master of Frank and Nicole Lodge 1170, just before this new Masonic year. His name is Worshipful Brother Ryan Miner. Absolute top bloke. And the amount that I've learned from him, and because of him and Worshipful Charles Robertson, we won our the competition, the officers' competition. Last Masonic year, and it's just nudging him. So when I try to nudge him, I said, "Look, you should move forward and become at least a CLI, and in the future, a grand lecturer, because you're passionate, you know the words, you've had great mentors, you're a great leader, and you should do it. And I also actually approached Worshipful Brother Charles Robertson, and everyone's got their own time and place in life and their own life cycle. And Ryan, Worshipful Brother Ryan, just happened to be in the right place in the right time. And he's actually going for it. He's going for CLI, which is Certified Lodge Instructor. What that is for listeners around the world and people who are not aware is, as our Right Worshipful Junior Grand Warden has just related, they're commissioned officers. They're kind of like the glue of the area. They come in and you see a lot of them helping out in degree work and helping other brothers in ritual and giving them the confidence and the boost. And I think it's just trying to identify the right people and letting them know. Sometimes just a tap on the shoulder and just a bit of encouragement of those, as you say, who do know the ritual, but just need that bit of egg on to say, yep, go do it. Because sometimes, it does seem to be a big barrier when, very few people talk about it, let's just say in Lodge, about CLIs or Grand Lecturers. And it does seem like such an arduous thing. And if we can get them over those particular barriers and, find out who in their life cycle. And the reason why I say life cycle is some people are ready. It's just their commitments at this certain time. And once they can commit to it, then they're ready to go. So sorry, I just found that very interesting. And I have a personal anecdote with a worshipful brother in my lodge in Frank and Nicole. And yeah, you're right. I mean, that's very interesting. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sometimes we just need that pat on the back, that little encouragement. You done really good obligating, or man, you're a real good senior deacon, or and sometimes we just need that encouragement, that little push to get them to get going. Go to the finishing schools and have a GL, maybe polish the work up a little bit. Are you saying the and it should be or on and it should be upon? This the little things. And sometimes you plant that seed, that little encouragement, and it grows into a great, great mason.
And what's really interesting as well is the ritual, the actual Illinois ritual, that the Freemasonic ritual that's been preserved over the centuries is some of the best ritual that I've seen. And it's very heavily rooted in Scottish Freemasonry in terms of ritual, and all of our signs are rooted from there as well. And it's so nice to see that preservation and see the amount of work and depth, the floor work, the actual ritual, and how much pride and conservation that's been kept over the decades. And it just happens to be in the great state of Illinois, and what you guys have done in preserving the ritual. And I think there's an element of, a challenge, if in my experience in the areas and craft lodges that I've been to, is making ritual fun, because it can be a lot of fun when you're in a practice night. And I tend to add one or two words, just to keep people smiling. So sometimes I might say, instead of saying brother secretary, I might say venerable brother secretary, because they are, that chap is very venerable, and he does a lot for the lodge, and it brings a few smiles. I might put epic in the middle of the thing, just to make people smile and just during practice, obviously. So that just a few tidbits of what you said about that. Because I think that's very important, making ritual fun. But one question I do have. So you joined in 1999, and what has your experience been? I mean, what's emblematical is that we've got such a good grand line that it is super infectious, and you see that enthusiasm, that passion spread throughout the great state of Illinois. give us a bit of your history of, what your experiences, why you're doing this, why you're traveling 1,500 miles a month. What gets you up in the morning, really, and gets you pumped up? And how's that? What was your previous experience before the Grand Line?
Well, I think it goes back. There was a old past master, and he was past master in 1967, and he was very proud of that. And super guy. He always had a smile on his face. We called them corny jokes back then, but they'd be dad jokes now. And he gave me great advice, and I really say it and I push it. And it's really simple, and you said it. Have fun and enjoy the fraternity. And he even said, if you're having fun, you're going to enjoy the fraternity. If you're enjoying the fraternity, you're having fun. There's a time and place where ritual is fantastic and the square corners and, the word perfect. But at the practice, the schools, when the lodge isn't open, have fun. You can joke around a little bit. And I really took that to heart. And he was just a great guy, and I miss him all the time. But I try to have fun traveling around, and that's the big thing. I am very fortunate. I carpooled with another brother, and I know Billy remembers him, William Martin, but down here we just call him Pretty Bill. Yeah. And he had fun no matter what he was doing. He always had a joke, and he just laughed. And he probably could have been a grand lecturer. Mm-hmm. And he was just amazing. I carpooled with him, and we would talk about food and fishing and jokes, his time in the Navy, and we would just be laughing and cutting up in the car, and it was just a wonderful time. I miss him dearly. And I got out of that carpool, and I'm in with another carpool with Kevin Acosta and Joe Klepper and Brian Morrow, and these guys are just hilarious to ride with. We is continually laughing.
Some people would call those, and I love those brothers. I love them. They were all, except we missed you when my nephew got raised, and I thought you might be there. I almost called you, and I thought, oh, he's probably busy. And they all come to my nephew got raised the other day. You'll hear about it on our last podcast. It's going to come out probably tomorrow. But they come, and, of course, and Klepper and Brian Morrow have quite a dynamic together, too. So they were at each other's throats pretty bad. But anyway, so
you got to be
Bill,
thick-skinned to be in this carpool.
My gosh! Oh yeah. So some people might not call him hilarious. They might call him crazy. I mean, that would come closer. But
somebody gets an idea. Let's go to Vandalia. Let's go to Cairo, and we're packing Kevin's truck, and we're going. We never say no, we're not going. We just pack up, and we may leave somebody's house at 3:30 to get there in time to eat at 6. I mean, we just don't care. We want to be in the lodge. We want to enjoy this fraternity, and you got to have fun, and those guys do.
I mean, Billy, it's just like, the adventures, going on the adventure to certain lodges, having a good time, having a good fellowship. It was very emblematical. For me personally, it's like driving down to Springfield to St. Paul's Lodge, meeting up with the brothers there and having the festive board at the home plate and doing some toasts and, doing some English toasts and having a lot of fun. And that's really important because I think what's really interesting as well is getting a good alignment. And what's really remarkable is how every Grand Line that I'm aware of, whether it's in the UK or in America, the good ones, the great ones, basically. I mean, I haven't seen a bad one, to be honest, but especially in Illinois, I always say everything has to be in alignment. Everything, you got to take everything at its time, and you've got to, find the right person at the right time at the right place, because all the brothers have got something to give. And then once you find that right brother that clicks, that's the one who's going to bring in that extra bit of value. And it's interesting that you explained that the Grand Line have different, you got contributions that everyone contributes, and everyone has a speciality that they bring, and that has an effect in the team. And that's emblematical that what I think we all would want the lodges, our own lodges, to be like. And I relate a lot to that with Frank and Nicole and St. Paul's Lodge 500. And that's what we want all the lodges around the state to have. And it's just really nice to hear, and especially for listeners around the world, who, if in future, if you are a brother and you're listening and you get your nice letter from your jurisdiction and they send it to our jurisdiction, please come and please visit and see the good fun and ritual that's done in Illinois. And as our Right Worshipful brother Patrick has said, Grand Secretary, Right Worshipful Grand Secretary Frank Klein, he's amazing. And once he gets your details, as a brother, he will fit you in the right place with the Vice Chancellor, who deals with all of that. And you get to visit some fantastic Illinois lodges. So my next question is that now we've extrapolated that you do many cool adventures and cool rides to other lodges, and you get to meet, and that's what really excites me as well, meeting other brothers that I've never met before, then having those bonds and being able to break bread and have relationships where you just get to know people and you get to know their story and you get to know their history. And everyone's life story to me is like really fascinating. And you meet people who have a lineage of Masonic family bloodlines, who've had grandfather, their father, their son, like Billy, which is really, really awesome. And then you have stories of of their life and how they came to America, or the wars they fought. The fact that a lot of the Masons that I know have served their country one way or the other. Just some really good stories, and you learn and you build this massive connection, and you never know. And then what's really nice is when you get installed as Worshipful Brother, they all come down. A lot of them come down and they see you and they travel, and you build those bonds. And there's there's an officer in near Joliet. I think there's going to be an installation in January, and I've been invited, and I can't wait to go. I can't wait to go and just support that brother up north and have a good time. But my next question is, so you've done all this traveling, and the idea is to recruit good men in the state of Illinois and to build that recruitment. What would you say to listeners who are listening in, men potentially who have a keen interest in Freemasonry and happen to be anywhere around the world? What would you say? What is Freemasonry in sense of what has your journey been like, and what would you want them to at the same time experience as you have in Freemasonry?
Well, I think every Mason has its own journey, and just like every Mason joins for their own reason. I was kind of traditional. My dad was a Mason. My grandmother was Eastern Star.
Oh wow!
I had uncles that were Masons, so it was just kind of tradition. My son's a Mason, so it's kind of traditional in our family. But every journey is different. What our goals are. Some, as you know, just join, pay dues, and we don't see them. And they're good Masons. They pay dues, and that's it. Then others aspire to be grand lecturers. And again, to a plug for Brother Wayne Spooner, I think he mentioned it, rabbit holes. Our fraternity has so many aspects. You could, York Rite, Scottish Rite, Shrine clubs. There's little bitty bodies in shrine clubs, the cars, the clowns. You find your rabbit hole and you enjoy it. You dive right in and enjoy the fraternity, no matter what you like, how you like it. Everybody's journey is a little bit different. I'm very fortunate to be a Grand Lodge officer, and it wasn't just because of me. It was because of, my mentors from Fellowship Lodge number 89, and then going on and, the grand lectures, like I said, Ed and Brian and Joe, they've all helped me. So everybody's going to have a different journey because everybody has likes and dislikes. And, we had one brother at our lodge, and he could do a lot. He just wanted to be the Tyler. I think he was the Tyler for 15, 20 years. And all it was, he liked drinking coffee and eating the cookies. And, and that's what it is. John Hacko, and he was a funny guy, but you want to take a chair inside the lodge? Nope, I'm good out here. It was every year.
That's
And
awesome.
he wouldn't show up for our December election meeting, so nobody could nominate him. I mean, he would hit every stated meeting except that one. And he's like, I don't want to be nominated. So everybody has their own little course, and pick something and enjoy it. It's such a fun journey. We just gave a pin out this summer to Brother Hayes, 75-year Mason.
Wow.
And he was...
That means he had to be 21 when he started.
Oh, and he was, oh gosh, I think he's 90, 97, 98, something like that.
Yeah, because back then you couldn't join you when you were 18, correct?
Yeah, and he in assisted living, but had all his, he was talking and telling stories. His wife was there. She was crying. And I thought, that's why we're here for this fraternity. Golly, it was just a fantastic night being with him. He's like, I got to come back to lodge. It's like, yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you. And, 75-year Mason. And everybody, we had the district deputy there, Mike Reaney, and had a lot of members from our lodge, and we just simply had a great night with him. So you just never know what's going to pop up. So,
sorry, Billy, just one last question before you can please go. I just want to, what was it like having your son become a Master Mason, Patrick?
Oh, goodness.
Can you go through this for me? Because I've got a 7-year-old, and you've been. I just want to know your thought. What were you going through in those moments, and how's he doing as a Master Mason? So let's go through that a bit, because that's very interesting for me to know. Go on.
The excitement I had for him, and he was just, he was excited, and I was excited. You're filling out the trestle board, and it's like, oh, this is going to be great, and who's going to be the third Tyrion, and who's going to be king. It was just like Christmas for me. I was just so proud, and it was just amazing, and to see him raised, and he's come to lodge a couple of times, and now he's young, so he's got him a new job, and he works 12-hour shifts, and
right.
It's tough to get him back in lodge, and he keeps saying, I'm going to come back, I'm coming back. But it was just wonderful,
That's awesome, Billy. I mean, my point is this is a cycle. As I was talking about your cycle, and if you're in your 20s, you're just building your life. You're making your mistakes. You're growing. You're trying to get on the ladder, so to speak, and get your house, get your car, and then you went becoming a Mason must have been a very proud moment for you and for him to experience all 3 degrees, and the third degree being the most profound degree, and for him to become a Master Mason must have been huge for you, and for him to continue that legacy. For me, it brings a smile to my face, and I think for all the dads out there who are listening, and all for the brothers who have sons, and those who are listening in, and were thinking about, or have always thought about Freemasonry. That family aspect to me is just huge. Billy just went to a wedding of a brother who the person he married, her father was a Mason and her son's a Mason, and the Masonry has been part of that family for generations, and it's just amazing. Just amazing the stories I hear and the warmth it brings, and the fact that we're able to make good men better. And one of the issues we have in this in the world we live in is we need a lot more good men. And one thing that I've seen, all brethren at all levels, Masonry produces great leaders, good men, and we need a lot more good men in this world. And so it's really nice to hear that. And my boy's 7, and I have a rule where I don't push things on him. But what's really funny is that he does kind of, slowly, come to my end when it comes to everything that I like, and then sometimes it surprises me because I make an effort not to force on my likes and my wants, even though I'm very passionate about my stuff. But if he, lets a small little door open, I'll start talking about it. And he asked me the other day, he said to me, what's a Mason and what's a Freemason? So I just went for history. I was just talking about the historical aspects of it, and he was very excited. I said, well, you've got a long way to go, and there's no rush. And my main point is, before I stop myself from rambling on, is that life is like, and you mentioned it, like the Tyler. When I first came in, the first thing I wanted to do is just be the Tyler, and it wasn't because I didn't want to sit on the seats. It was I knew exactly what my schedule was like. I knew how busy I was, and for me to sit on a seat and become an officer, for me was an obligation. And if I'm going to go and do it, I want to do it properly, and I want to do it well. And I don't want to do it. I don't want to step in half baked, half in. And so for me, it's when I take on a role, that's when I'm committed, and I'm going to give you 100%, if not more, if I can. And so one thing that we all have to realize is, as you said, is identify people and just be happy people turning up. Some people like to turn up and just sit on the sidelines. Some people are, welders and, work every couple of months, solid, and just can't turn up. But then they do come to lodge because they do love the fellowship. So that's something to think about as well, the hobby life cycle, or the life cycle of a man and a Mason, and how we can fit them and how we can keep that relationship with them. Especially those who can't attend, a phone call goes a long way. A text message goes some ways. An invite to a dinner that we're doing goes hugely. Sometimes a card, if one of their relatives are not doing too well, or a close immediate family member. So it's incumbent on the lodges and ourselves to pick up the phone, and say, hey, how you doing, brother? Everything okay? And have a conversation. Get to know them. And you'll be surprised. Once you have a genuine interest in your brothers in your lodge, that retainment value is natural. There is no kind of program you need to do, or marketing spiel or anything like that. It's your genuine interest in your brethren that draws brethren to the lodges. So sorry, Billy, you carry on.
I don't even know I'm still here. No. I think I'm still here. Anyway, no, I was just gonna say, I always like to say that I have a kind of like a 1/10 of an idea what you go through as a grand officer, because of my small line I was in compared to the grand line. But I did some of the traveling that you do. I was in the grand cryptic line, and so I feel like where your personality and my personality is a lot alike, where we kind of joke around and have a good time and kind of made ourselves easily accessible. And I found that very easy to get along with the people that way. And I found that people approach me a lot more than they did other people that was not that way. And I was just going to make the point that I think that you'll really do good as you keep moving up the line, because I found that people really respect you more than you think when you make yourself accessible like that.
Oh, yes.
Because
yes.
Different officers I seen before and after approach things in many different ways. I mean, there's hundreds of ways to approach things, and I know you know that. I'm not telling you. I'm telling other people that's listening, and that you can handle things. You can be the smartest guy in the room, or you can be the really not very smart person, and you can be, what I mean, very strict and very, what I mean. But I've seen people that come in the room and take the gavel and the hat and they run everything, and I've seen people that want to sit in the back and never do anything, and you know what I mean. But if you give these guys the respect they have and let them do their own thing, but I mean, and just be there to help them when they need help, and just be friendly, they'll love you. Because I'm telling you, I had people inviting me everywhere and still calling me and asking me to come back to their council, and I'll say I'm not charging anything anymore. I had somebody go, "You're still our Grand Master." I said, No, I'm not. But it's kind of feels good when you're not in charge anymore and they're still calling you, asking you to come back. So I mean,
yes, that
kind of
would
feels
be a
like
good
you made an impression on people.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is traveling around, and you'll find out I'm the early guy.
Yeah, me too.
I always show up early, and sometimes it worries me. Oh my gosh, am I at the right place?
Right.
Because
When
there's
nobody's
nobody,
there.
there's nobody there. But and I call it nosing around. I love looking at lodges.
Me too.
Every lodge is different. Every lodge has a story, and there's usually one brother in there that's really proud of the lodge,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll give me a tour. He'll tell me a story. There's a lodge that got blown away by a tornado. The only thing that was left is a stained glass window. You go to another one. Well, this got burnt down. The only thing we have is our foundation stone.
Oh wow.
And every lodge. Or here's this picture of this guy. He was a banker. He started the lodge, and every lodge has a story. And I love hearing those stories.
Yeah.
And they're just fantastic. And seeing the old pictures, and some of them kept the old. This is the original gavel. Just so neat.
Yeah.
My lodge has, I think we've gone through 2 fires and an earthquake and a flood. We don't have any, we don't have, oh yeah, we've bad luck lodge. But we don't have anything like that. We don't have pictures of past masters or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I'm jealous when I see a lodge like, man, this is so neat. I love history.
Yeah.
And I'm the history nerd. So it's like, yeah, tell me the story. I don't care. Well, let's hear the story.
Yeah.
And
another thing that I like that you pointed out about your traveling, and I think this for people that are non-Masons listening, Masons aren't the stuffy little guy sitting in the corner, with the Masonic pin on. Masons have a lot of fun. You'd be surprised. We have a great time. Yeah, there's ritual and there's a time that everybody's serious, but you wouldn't believe the good times we have. It's not all just a bunch of old stuffy old men. Man, we have a good time, and sometimes you got to have thick skin because there's some ripping going on.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Yeah, and just go the opposite. If one of us goes down, knee surgery, back surgery,
or everybody's there for you,
and everybody's there for you. It's just this fraternity's great. You're getting calls, getting emails. You can be up and they're cheering your name, and you can be down and they're helping you. They've got a handout. We got such a great fraternity. I just love Illinois Freemasonry. It is fantastic.
Well, the experiences that they've been for Bill. I mean, me and Billy met, and I, because of Billy's year last year as the most illustrious Grand Master of the Cryptic Council of Illinois. It was incredible, and here we are, humbly doing this podcast. But one thing I want to touch on that both you, Billy, and yourself, Patrick, have been talking about is traveling, and this is a really dynamic, interesting concept that has been going on for centuries. And once you become a Master Mason, and it's really once you've gone through a 3rd degree, you're very much encouraged to travel around your local area or beyond, and meet other brothers and see the fraternity, go and help out in degree works, get to know people. And sometimes a lot of us don't do that. A lot of us, all we do know is our lodge, and that's great, having that band of brothers. But going out and meeting other brothers and building those connections, and other brothers coming to help in your degree work and traveling, it's a remarkable thing. And then you see things like when I was in England and I was visiting, there were English brethren who were just guests, who were visiting that lodge every year, once a year, for 25 years. Once they visited, they just come back, and they traveled great distances. Great distance in England for us is like 3 or 4 hours. that's a long distance. It's nothing like Illinois. I mean, for people around the world to know, in Illinois, driving 2 hours and 3 hours is nothing. That's like a normal drive basically for some of us, not all of us. But in England though, because it's a small island, when you say 3 hours, it's like you're going off abroad somewhere far, far away. And us Londoners, we joke that everything above London is called the North, which is actually technically correct. But to see the fellowship and to see around the world and here, and people traveling, and people and other brothers seeing other brothers from other lodges and having experiences and exchanging ideas and learning things from each other and building bonds. I just think that's incredible. Having that access to that fraternity around the entire state. So if you are in Chicagoland for a couple of days for work, let's just say, or on a holiday trip, and you can spare a day to go visit a lodge, and you do all the proper introductions and you do all the proper communications with Grand Lodge or that particular lodge if it's from a different jurisdiction. Just the experiences you have are fantastic, and it's something that I would encourage. When you can, do travel, do go and meet and greet, do go outside of your lodge and get others to go with you as well. Get a whole crew of you brothers of going, to different places and build those bonds. So I'm just picking that up because both of you have really talked about that quite a bit.
Yeah, and when you do go visit another lodge and help them, then those brothers will usually come to your lodge and help you, and it makes the degree go so much nicer. They have extra help.
Yeah. One of my favorite traveling stories, we were camping in Missouri, and I put my little square and compass flag out, and a brother came up and said, "You're a Mason?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Let's go to Poplar Bluff. They got a past masters meal today." And I said, "Okay, well, let's go." So I tell my wife, "Hey, we're going to go to Poplar Bluff." And we go to their lodge and introduce at that time I was a district deputy. And the worshipful master of the lodge said, "Our district deputy's not here. Would you like to fill in?"
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Well, this is a Missouri lodge. I don't think He said, "All you got to do is read the names out and give the awards out to the past masters."
Oh, wow.
They took the award. They shook my hand. They hugged me. And we had a blast. Of course, some of the names I butchered up, and that just made it even more fun.
Yeah.
And we had a great meal. And so they were cleaning up, and they said, "Don't move." And they get this little desk out of the storage shed, and they get a chair, and they said, "Sit at the desk, sit at the desk." And I said, "It's just an old rickety desk." And they said, "Where's the gavel? Where's the gavel?" And they're working around. They find a gavel, and they said, "Gavel right here at this point of the desk." And I said, "Okay." And I gavelled, and they said, "You have now sat in the same chair at the same desk and gavelled in the same place as Grandmaster Harry S. Truman did."
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And I got all teary-eyed. I was like, "Holy
That's
cow.
incredible.
You guys are the best brothers ever."
Yeah.
So you never know when you're traveling around what you're going to fall into. They were the best lodge. It was a lot of there again. They had fun, and it's just amazing. So yeah, travel around. It's so much fun. I wouldn't know hardly any of the brothers. If I wasn't in the line, I wouldn't know Angelo DeSario.
Yeah.
Of course, Angelo. He's Italian from Joliet.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He is such an amazing guy, and he always cooks lasagna, and I guess it's his grandmother's sauce. And we always joke, like, you could just waller in this lasagna. It is so good.
Well, he's going to actually be on our next podcast. Not to give anything away, but we'll be sure to ask him about our lasagna.
Yes, ask about Grandma's lasagna, because it's just he's just an amazing guy. And there again, you even in the Grand Lodge, you still need a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And golly, don't tell him this, but he's a mentor of mine. He is a great guy.
We don't want to get his head so big. We're not.
His head will be. And sometimes it's like your little brother or big. They got to separate you at the table. You're not allowed to sit next to each other. Sometimes they do that to us because we have so much fun. And golly, he's a great guy, but you wouldn't meet him if you're not traveling around. And there's great brothers out there. There's great lodges, and the right to travel is just a fantastic thing to do in our fraternity.
Huge privilege. Yes. I mean, I once went to Texas, and I was there for business, and I was there for, I think, 4 or 5 days. And the first thing I did is I went to Grapevine. I think I went through Grand Lodge in the state of Illinois, and they introduced us, and they got all the connections done for me. And anyhow, long story short, I had a great time, and a lot of the brothers are still in contact with me. I met them once. They had this little museum, and in that museum, they had the schematics of the very, very initial lodges around the USA and how they were all built in a similar way. And what I learned is they are identical to how in America they build schools, because the first schools around the USA were actually Masonic lodges, and there was always 2 floors, and the kids would come down, and on the first floor, ground floor, and they would be taught by teachers, because back then Masons were the carpenters, the lawyers, the bricklayers, the farmers, the bankers, the clerks. It was a very labor-intensive time. That time it wasn't automated to that great extent as it is today, and so the Masons actually introduced basically schools all across the USA, and it's actually in American history they actually pushed for the idea of having state schools, because the burden became a bit too much for the lodges. So the reason why a lot of American schools have the same kind of setup of the old lodges that are still around was a lot of the schools, a lot of the first schools were actually run by Masons, and that shows a lot of our community effort in those days, and is emblematical in what we do today, which is like the Scholastic Bowl, which is something that blows my mind away, and it happens in Illinois every year. So we've talked about that. We've done interviews about that, about the Masonic Scholastic Bowl, and so yeah, I'm just blown away with traveling. And you're right, Patrick. It's a privilege that we have, and so use it. Billy, have you got any other last questions?
I do. It's not a question. I feel like I need to honor our good brother, Pretty Bill, with how Pretty Bill got his name, because Pretty Bill is not with us anymore, but Pretty Bill would come to your entered apprentice degree, which is your first degree, and he would tell everybody his name. He'd introduce himself at the end of the night, and he would say, now, if you'd come back, when he's going to come back on his third degree, he's going to tell you how he got his name, Pretty Bill. If you come, And so even if people had never heard it before, they'd all come back to the third degree so they could find out how he got his name, Pretty Bill. And then, that candidate, he's waiting, that new brother's waiting. He goes, you want to know how I got my name, Pretty Bill? Because I'm so pretty. That whole room sitting there, you just think, oh Lord. But if you know that guy, you're just thinking, oh man. But man, you know what? I miss that man so much. He was just such a wonderful, wonderful man. And I just want to tell that because, man, he just lit up every room he was in, and I miss him.
He really did. He really did. He was a good guy. He was a lot of fun.
So I'd just like to say thank you, Right Worshipful Brother, for coming on with us. And if you'd ever want to come back on again, we'd love to have you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like I said, we try to have fun, and you know what? With everything you have, Godspeed. And if you ever need us for anything, we're here for you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having me. It was truly an honor for me.
Thank you for listening to On the Level Podcast, your Masonic podcast. When you are ready, duly and truly prepared, you can always knock on the door.